It was a night like any other when Sarah found herself ensnared in the clutches of a recurring nightmare. She awoke in a state of confusion, her heart racing, drenched in sweat, yet the shadows of her dream lingered like a fog. A long, dimly lit hallway stretched endlessly in her mind, its presence haunting her waking hours. She knew she had to confront it, even if it meant facing the terror that awaited her within. The start of the nightmare. In her dream, Sarah stood at the entrance of an ominous hallway. The air was thick with a palpable dread, and the flickering overhead lights cast distorted shadows on the walls. As she took a hesitant step forward, she felt an invisible force pull her deeper into the corridor. Panic rose in her chest as the entrance vanished behind her, swallowed by the darkness. Just a dream, she whispered to herself, but her resolve faltered as the hallway seemed to stretch infinitely before her. Each step echoed like a heartbeat in the stillness, amplifying her fear. The walls, painted a sickly yellow, began to close in on her, the space constricting like a vice. As she walked, the whispers began. Faint at first, they grew louder, a cacophony of voices that seemed to swirl around her. "Sarah, come closer," the voices coiled around her like serpents, tugging at her sanity. She strained to comprehend what they were saying, but their words were unintelligible, a mixture of pleading and taunting. The doors of regret. Sarah pressed on, desperation fueling her movement. She glanced at the doors lining the corridor, each one labeled with a single word: regret, failure, loss. Each label struck her like a physical blow, igniting memories she had tried to bury. She reached for one door marked regret, her hand trembling as she turned the handle. The door creaked open to reveal a dark void. A cold wind rushed out, carrying with it the scent of decay and despair. From the shadows, she felt a pair of eyes watching her. Panic surged as she slammed the door shut, but the whispers intensified, growing more insistent. "Open it. Face it," they cried. "No," she shouted, backing away. But the hallway warped and twisted, leaving her disoriented. Every step felt like an eternity, and the oppressive silence enveloped her, broken only by the haunting voices that echoed her deepest fears. The unseen pursuer. As she stumbled through the corridor, a creeping sense of being watched settled over her. Sarah's instinct screamed at her to run. She turned abruptly, heart pounding, but found no one behind her. Just emptiness. Yet, the sensation of eyes piercing through the darkness made her skin crawl. It was as if something lurked just beyond her field of vision, ready to pounce. "Who's there?" she called, her voice shaky and small. The answer was silence, thick and suffocating. Just as she began to move forward again, she heard it, a low growl, deep and menacing. Her breath caught in her throat as dread gripped her. Something was following her. She bolted down the hallway, the sound of her racing heart drowned out by the echoing footfalls behind her. The whispers morphed into a singular voice, low and guttural. "Run all you want, you can't escape yourself." The final door. Desperation propelled Sarah forward, and she sprinted toward the end of the hallway, where a single door stood ajar, bathed in a soft, golden light. She felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this was her way out. As she reached for the handle, the growling intensified, a chilling reminder that she wasn't alone. The door swung open, revealing a room filled with mirrors. Each one reflected her, but with each reflection came a different version of herself, some joyful, others shattered, and a few filled with rage. "What is this?" she breathed, stepping inside. The whispers returned, surrounding her like a tempest. "Face us. Face your truth." A mirror in the corner caught her eye, its surface rippling like water. She approached it cautiously. As she peered into the reflection, her heart sank. She saw herself as a child, innocent and untouched by pain. But as the image shifted, it morphed into a version of herself filled with sorrow, trapped by regrets that felt insurmountable. "I can't face this," she cried, turning away, but the mirror held her in its grip. "Why are you running?" the voice taunted, echoing from all directions. "You can't escape your past. You must confront it." The confrontation. As the room spun around her, Sarah felt the weight of her past pressing down. She had spent years avoiding her fears, drowning herself in work and distractions. The reflection stared back at her, eyes filled with longing and pain, a stark reminder of everything she had lost. In that moment, she realized the truth. The hallway was a manifestation of her own fears, the endless cycle of avoidance that had ensnared her. To escape, she needed to confront what lay behind the mirrors. Gathering her courage, she stepped toward the mirror, the surface shimmering as she reached out to touch it. A rush of memories flooded her mind, moments of joy, heartache, and regret. Each one reminded her of the choices that had shaped her life. With a deep breath, she whispered, "I accept you." The awakening. As the words left her lips, the mirrors shattered, shards scattering across the floor like lost dreams. The hallway began to dissolve around her, the oppressive weight lifting as she felt the grip of fear loosening.